Hey, welcome to season 2 of Journey to the Rise. Sometimes the best made plans get delayed. And unfortunately, there was a significant delay due to personal things became a heavy priority. But here I am, back in the editing bay with a hot cup of tea, a melted snowman, as we return to the conversation where we left off with Donovan Bankhead. So we're just going to dive right into it. Part 2 of our conversation with Donovan, we get into the impact of music stores and how it affects students and especially teachers when they typically lack support in the school systems. It's amazing what a music store can do, how it can support the teachers and the music programs that really are so important to so many students and people's lives. So without further delay, welcome to season 2 and welcome back, Donovan Bankhead. Is. And for those who don't know what Ernie Williamson music is, like, and you just said it has multiple stores, which is amazing. That's incredible. Like, just give some people who are not familiar with it, like, a little education about who you are, how it helps your communities and students and performers with music.
Oh, totally, yeah. So in a nutshell, I would say Ernie Williamson Music. So we are a musical instrument retailer based in Missouri. We are located in Springfield, Joplin, St. Louis, Kansas City, the Park Hills, Farmington area, which is 2 hours southwest of um, St. Louis, and then hopefully we'll have another one coming soon as well. Um, we focus primarily on four income categories, so retail sales, and on retail sales, we really focus primarily on being a great guitar shop and a great like band and orchestra shop. So it's kind of our main focus. We'll do a little bit of a few other things like maybe some digital keyboards and stuff, but really kind of honed in on guitars and band and orchestra. We teach a lot of lessons. We teach about 1,000 students a week how to play music,
Whoa.
and we teach music through using the music that students love. And so we find like the music they're into, and then kind of incorporate that into teaching them theory and all the stuff that they need to know. And then we do a lot of band orchestra instrument rentals for students that are beginning their forays and careers into school music, and then we also repair band orchestra and guitars as well. So those are our main categories that we operate in. We have an e-commerce site as well. So and that has been a 10-year boondoggle, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to try to get that thing going, and it's finally up and running and going today, which is nice, and making sales off of it. And then we have a couple of other little niche things that we do. I've got a specialty electric bass business called fretspot.com that I started in 2008, separate from the music store, but using my connections in the music industry to be able to get the product. And that was kind of a fortunate deal. That was a thing that the previous owner of Ernie Williamson Music allowed me to have that separate business, even though it sort of competed with what we did. But I made the promise to him, like, I will use my profits from this to get myself out of debt and then save money to buy your company. And I won't
Wow.
use it to like buy cars or houses or whatever. So if you let me do this,
Yeah.
like it will benefit you. And he let me do it, but I had to do it all on my own time, all with my own money, like
Whoa.
all totally separate. And I'm so amazed to tell you that like this little hobby business I have with the brands that I represent, two of the three brands I represent, I'm their number one dealer in the world, selling their products,
That's
all out of a hobby
amazing.
business. You know,
Wow.
it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then a few years ago, I started doing a similar thing with a couple of trumpet brands. So I've got these are all like high-end brands where their products sell for, 5 grand or more. So it's not like the kind of run-of-the-mill type stuff. This is sort of the high-end boutique type stuff. Um, so those are all now part of the Ernie Williamson company as well. Um, but yeah,
Wow. That's incredible. What a blessing to so many
so that's what we do.
players.
So yeah.
Yeah. And what do you
Yeah,
enjoy about
and
the.
so a big part of that is sorry, I'm going to interrupt you real quick. A
No, you're
big part of
good.
our business, so we have the obvious retail side of like end user coming to the store, buying, products, stuff like that. Like we obviously have like that connection as well. But a big part of our business is dealing with music educators and that relationship we have one-on-one with music educators.
I think people forget about the importance of having that connection with the music educators because like they need that support. They need the stores that have the supplies to help them one have it in stock. So when they send the students to you, they're going back to class
Hmm.
prepared to be able to pick up the books, the whatever the rosin, whatever you need. I don't know the win inside of things, but the supplies.
Yeah, it is important. And of course, where we really make our money is on the rental side of it. So having
Mm-hmm.
their support of sending their students just for rentals is really important. But the thing that I find, I'm grateful for them for that, for our educators that recommend and use us for all of those needs that they have. Um, for us, the way that I want to support them is by giving back to them. So we are very, very, very philanthropic for music education purposes in our state. We even like we just sent a VP to Washington D.C. to lobby on behalf of like music education programs, both state and at a state and federal level. We donate all kinds of money and resources to like our state music education organizations, and anything that helps band directors become better directors. Anything that helps band and orchestra directors. I'm showing my bias by just saying band, but we do a lot of support for orchestra too. Uh, but anything that helps them, because those directors have a very difficult but very meaningful job. And it's not any exaggeration when I tell you I would not be where I am today without the band directors in my life. Um, that because of that, I want to support the band directors and our communities. And so that's through, I mean, we almost probably, it might be unparalleled financial support. I don't know that there's anyone else in my state that donates as much as we do, to support music education. And that has been, it's a good business strategic move because the directors see that and appreciate it. But that's not why we started doing that.
Mm-hmm.
We did that because I want to give back, and it's really meaningful to me. And I saw the need. I saw that like directors need, they need these clinicians, they need this support, they need these organizations to exist. And we even with the people that we hire, like the people that we hire to serve them, I wanted to get people who'd been successful as band directors so that they could go in and work with that director. And the guy that I actually hired to take my place, on the calling on directors, he always says he's a bartender for band directors. I mean, they just need someone to listen to them and to listen to
Yeah.
them, vent, about their frustrations they're having with parents or administration, or to give them ideas, or to celebrate their successes.
Yeah.
So many, they don't have that. And so we make the investment to get the quality of people in that can really be a benefit to them. And so we've really given a lot back. And to be honest with you, before this, I wasn't super charitable or very philanthropic with stuff. Like, I don't know. I think just kind of growing up poor, I always just felt like I needed to take care of myself first.
Right.
Um, and I still honestly think that's pretty good advice if you're when you're poor.
Right. Yeah.
Take care of yourself first. Uh, but once we got to the point that we could afford to start doing something, like I wanted to give back, and I wanted to show my appreciation, for those people, and I wanted to hope to have an impact for other students out there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so that we play a big part in that.
Yeah. And I think taking care of yourself first is important. It to me it's the air mask theory. When you're on a plane, put your air mask on first before you help someone else
Yep.
because you're depleting your own oxygen. You're no good to anyone else. And people don't realize like music teachers, they have zero budget. They are repairing instruments the best they can. They're not luthiers. I don't know the word for a wind instrument. Sorry, that's not my my expertise.
Repair
But they're
technicians. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
repair technicians. Like, but they're figuring it out and finding a way. So when a music store can be that support, that guidance, be able to step in, be able to even if it's deliver, repaired instruments to save them time. Like it's such a relief for these valuable men and women who are educating the students in something like you said earlier, they can do for the rest of their life.
Yeah. Yeah, that air mask analogy is a great one, Lucretia. And I think, I think as sort of as an aside, our culture often can be, especially for those of us who came from poor families, there's just this feeling of like that if I come up, I got to bring the whole family with me, like
Mm-hmm.
if my family needs something, I have to sacrifice to give to them. And by family, I'm not necessarily meaning like you're like if you're married, you're like you and your kids. I think that you pretty much have to sacrifice for. I just mean like siblings, parents, aunts, uncles, whatever. And man, I don't know, maybe it's just because of like, being alone a lot growing up as a kid or whatever, but I just kind of realized when I was, in college and getting beyond, like, man, if I'm ever going to make anything of myself, I can't let my family drag me down.
Right.
I can't let,
Mm-hmm.
the poverty of like my dad's poverty, I can't let it drain me. Like
Mm-hmm.
I have to take care of if I can make something with myself. My dad always told me that I will be the one that changes our family tree. I don't know why he felt that way. I don't know why he saw that,
Wow.
but I thought like if that's ever going to be true, then I have to be somebody. I have to make
Mm-hmm.
something of myself, and I can't make something of myself if I'm constantly draining my resources, trying
Yep.
to just take care, the people around me. And so I became kind of selfish in that regard until we got to the point that we were like, making it and
Mm-hmm.
being successful. And then,
Yeah.
and I think when you put yourself first in that way, um, as long as you still maintain that heart for others, but you put yourself first, at some point you can give back in a way that's much more meaningful and to people that are much more deserving. And the nice thing about the weird family dynamics that I grew up in is I don't really have a strong sense of loyalty to family. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't pick these people, and frankly,
Right.
they didn't pick me either. We just all happen
Right.
to share the same DNA.
Yeah.
So I don't feel any stronger connection to that. I feel less strong of a connection to family than I do friends.
Yeah.
And so I think there's something to be said for that as well.
Mm-hmm. And I think we get to those who have that dynamic, that family dynamic that wasn't like the happy, perfect Christmas card. We have the right to go find the friends and make them our family.
Exactly. Yeah. And we also can recognize that sometimes our friends are only friends for a season.
Right. Yes.
You may be fortunate to have friends for life, but that's pretty rare.
Mm-hmm.
And, as people, if we're developing and maturing and growing and having new interests and changes of heart, gosh, I'm a totally different person than I used to be.
Yeah.
When I was young and growing up, I was a religious conservative. And, today, now I'm much more liberal. I'm politically independent, and I'm an atheist. I don't believe in any religions or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and completely different than what I used to be. But I've always been of the mindset that I want to believe as many true things as possible and as few false things as possible.
Yeah.
And if something I believed and thought was true can be demonstrated to me to be false, well, then I need to be willing to change my mind and take that better information. And I think if you have that growth mindset of always being willing and open to learning new things and growing and adapting and stuff, I think that ultimately will lead you to success and happiness too.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I love that
And
air mask analogy. That's a great one.
And when you're talking, it made me think of something a mentor said to me once. When you want to bring people up along with you, he said you have to think of life and running a business like you're on a surfboard. When you catch that wave, you're not strong enough in the very beginning to be able to pull someone up. You have to ride that wave, and as you grow and that wave continues on, it's going to get bigger where people can come up and join you on the wave, and finally there's the strength where you can start pulling people up. But initially, and he's like, it's not being selfish, but if you try to pull someone up too early onto your wave while you're on that surfboard, no one wins because you're all going to wipe out.
I love that. Yeah, that's another great one. That's perfect. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That also shows that that person better be willing to surf. Like they've
Right.
got to, there's not room on this surfboard for two of us. You better have your own board and you better be
Yeah.
ready to paddle and ready to go.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm not going to
Pull
just
your
prop you
weight.
up so that you can, sit around. You got to pull your weight. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Those are good analogies.
Excuse the interruption while we take a quick break from our conversation with Donovan Bankhead. Are you looking to capture life's most precious moments in stunning detail? Whether it's a milestone event, a family portrait, or a special celebration, Girl Boss Photography is here to help you tell your unique story through the lens of a camera. At Girl Boss Photography, we specialize in portrait photography, which includes high school seniors, engagement sessions, families, mom and me sessions, headshots, and personal branding. I am there to capture those fleeting moments. My goal is simple: to provide you with timeless images that you'll cherish for years to come. With a passion for creativity and a keen eye for detail, we bring years of professional experience to make you feel comfortable and confident in front of the camera. And because we love our community, we're offering a special deal just for podcast listeners. Book a session with us today and get 50% off your session fee when you mention this podcast. Be seen in photos, whether it's for an engagement or couple session, family photos, high school seniors getting in their photos, or just a fun shoot with friends. We'd love to capture your moments. Head to www.girlbossphotography.com. You can send a DM on Facebook at girlbossphotography615 or head over to Instagram at girl.boss.photography to get more info and to book your personalized session. Welcome back. We're going to continue our conversation with Donovan Bankhead. So I think it's
I
pretty
love stuff like that.
obvious. I know, me too. It's my favorite. I like that they're just little nuggets that on the rough days when I'm just like surfboard, I gotta paddle and go into the riptide and get the wave and ride it out, and you come up for air and try again. I carry that
Mm-hmm.
with me quite a bit. I think it's pretty obvious, but what do you enjoy about the process of helping students and professional players with their music endeavors, hobbies, and careers?
Oh gosh. So, first of all, I've always loved the gear and musicians. And when I was, younger, never had the money for the gear and would just look at, back then you could go to a music store and get a print catalog of the instruments. And I would get those and just, gosh, that's so beautiful, and would just kind of marvel at those, and would hope to one day see them, and couldn't even really couldn't imagine owning it. Like, I just wanted to see it and be able to play
Mm-hmm.
it. And then I've always been enamored with musicians that could play, even just your local musicians. No one really has ever heard of them except for maybe in your own hometown, but always just like amazed at what they can do. And so being around that is just something I always wanted. Um, Helping students in particular, I think, has been something I care about only because, I was that awkward, kind of dorky, fat, not smart. Like, I was that kid that, like, I didn't have friends. I definitely didn't have girlfriends. Like, I just didn't really have anything. And music was the thing that gave me things. It gave me confidence. It gave me friends. It gave me girlfriends. Like, it gave me a wife. It gave me a family. Like, it gave me all these things. And not to say that every kid is in music is as pathetic case as I was. There's definitely kids that are in band that are cool and got it together, like, without a doubt. That just wasn't me, and I like to help those kids too. Like, that's great. But man, like, for those of us that are kind of lost, or we don't quite fit into the normal school journey, that we're not the jock, or maybe we're not the academic prodigy, we just kind of have a hard time finding our place. It seems like band or orchestra, like, that's our home. Music can be our home.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we could throw in choir and stuff like that too, but that's not where my experience is at. And so I think because of that, I just love seeing, and I love seeing someone get connected to an instrument, because young musicians are a lot of fun, because in the very beginning, they're all super excited. It's fun. A handful are dismayed right at the get-go, but many of them, they, like, you get quick successes. But then at some point as a young musician, you start to realize, like, oh wow, it's going to be a lot of work to play to the level that I'd like to play at. And getting them over that hump and encouraging them, like, it is like, this will be a lifelong endeavor for you that's going to always challenge you, but you're going to always find rewarding. Like, getting them to see that this is not just a thing you're doing through middle school or through high school. Like this is something you can do the rest of your life and will add value to your life. And it's something that the majority of the population wishes they could do. I
Mm-hmm.
bet if you went out to Main Street today and did a quick poll and asked people, if they play an instrument, I bet those that say they don't, I'd be shocked if fewer than 90% said they wish they could play a musical instrument.
Yep.
I'd be shocked.
Mm-hmm.
Most people would love to be able to play a musical instrument.
Yeah.
And so, and anyone can do it. You just need to get started and stick
Yeah.
with it. So
And
I
that's
like
the
being part of
key.
that.
Yeah, and that's the key. Stick with it. Like there's a learning curve. Like you can't be comparing yourself to like Yo
Yep.
Yo Ma, these and Sam Bush. Like you can admire them, but they once upon a time did not know how to play their instrument.
Yeah. They were in your same shoes, you
Yeah,
know. They were there at one point without a doubt. Yeah,
yeah,
without a doubt. So I think some things are worth quitting. There's sometimes I'll get into an activity and then I'll once I kind of get past that dip, Seth Godin calls it a dip. You kind of get through it, you realize, then you start to see like, oh wow, to get to that level, it's going to take that amount of work.
yeah.
I'll look at that and think, I don't like this activity that much to do that. Like, and it's fine to quit it.
Mm-hmm.
But music is one of those things you can do forever, and it's so rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth putting in the effort.
Yeah. And you don't have to become a professional player. Maybe you play, with a local organization. You can play for yourself. But like, and I love Lizzo talks about that journey about how the flute wasn't easy for her. But I mean, dang, that girl can play she's quite the flautist.
Yeah, yeah, and she's obviously been very successful, and I think she wouldn't be where she was at today without her experience in band as
Hmm.
well. So
Exactly.
you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, in the groups I play in all kinds of groups, some that are professional, some are not. But one of my favorite groups is on Monday nights, the Missouri State University Community Band. If you play a band instrument, you can show up and be in this group. There's no audition process. You just got to show up and be there. The quality of the group's pretty good for a community band, but I'm making music with my neighbors for my neighbors, and I love doing that. And the other super cool thing about it is my entire family is in this band. So I'm playing trumpet, my wife plays
What?
trombone, my oldest son's playing trombone, my youngest son plays tuba in the band, and then my oldest son's girlfriend plays flute. And we all are do this together every Monday night. And then
Wow.
after band rehearsal, we all go to dinner together every Monday
Nice.
night with my adult kids and his girlfriend. Like as a family, like I mean, what kind of Norman Rockwell moment is that? Where you're in a community band rehearsal with your family, and then
Yeah.
afterwards you go to dinner every week as a family, even with your adult kids. Like that's just beautiful,
Yeah.
just beautiful.
That's the
So
coolest thing.
so yeah,
That is so freaking
it is.
cool. And clearly, as a business owner, you get to play music. How often are you able to get out and play music?
All the time. I play so much. I love it. I wanted to play for a living, but I already grew up poor and I was afraid that I would be poor if I was a professional musician. So I avoided that because I knew I was never good enough to like, you know, I was never an artist. So I had no chance really of that. And I honestly didn't feel like I played well enough to even be like a high end sideman or something,
Hmm.
play with a major artist. I wasn't that good. Um, but today, I mean, I play all the time. I play in the Missouri State University Community Band. I play in the Four State Symphonic Winds, which is another like sort of a higher end one ensemble group. I play with the Arkansas Music Works Brass Band, which is a British style brass band, really good caliber group. I play with the Missouri Jazz Orchestra. I play with a group called 70 Funk, which is like a disco band, a 70s based disco band. Um, I play in many of the area musicals. So if they like, just did a production of Big Fish, just did a production of Cinderella. In the past year, Big Fish, Cinderella, West Side Story, The Color Purple. So I've got to do like a lot of that kind of stuff playing wise. Uh, all that's on trumpet. The only playing I'm doing on bass anymore is on YouTube because I have YouTube channels promoting our products. So I'll do like bass reviews and play the basses there. But I've played in cover bands and other things with bass, and would like to get back into doing that again as well. But I play a fair amount, and even though I've got a growing company, and I've got these locations, a lot to do. I've got such a tremendous team that really shoulder a lot of the work and that make it able for me to be able to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Gosh, the people that I work with. My right hand person's a woman named Amanda Reuter. She's our VP, and she basically handles all finance and operations day to day. She's my right hand partner. She makes everything go. We've got great communication, and she's probably one of the smartest people I know. And so she's an awesome partner. Another VP we have is Misty Christek, and Misty is administrator for our lesson program and also manages our store in Kansas City, even though she lives in Springfield, which is 2.5 hours away. Misty is like the queen of routines and discipline and is like super reliable and organized. And like those two just like handle the lion's share of what we do. And then beyond that, we've got, Paul Schmidt's the head of our repair department, and Paul just anything related to repair. Paul handles training staff, organizing stuff. Like he's just, phenomenal. And then our school service reps, we've just got the best school service team in our entire state for sure. And just tremendous people to serve educators and to serve one another. Store managers, I've got great store managers at every location that are dedicated and committed to our business, to their customers, to their staff. Um, got great staff in the stores. My oldest son works in the store in Springfield. Um,
Nice.
just great repair techs. Like it's just a great team of people
Yeah.
uh, that give me the freedom and flexibility to be able to go do this at this stage of my life to, still work, but then
Hmm.
I get to go play. And
Yeah.
I'm not super into like travel and stuff. I like traveling. I'm not opposed to any of that. Uh, but I like playing more. I like playing my instrument more. And so rather than take time off to go travel necessarily, I like to go play.
Yeah.
And my wife and I got a Christmas Eve gig together in Arkansas. We'll go do that. And then my wife and I, we also golf together and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm just I'm nearly 50, so I'm at that stage where I've got a little bit of that freedom and
Hmm.
free time to go do all this stuff.
That's incredible. And
But
I
I've worked
think,
my ass off to get to this
right.
point, you
Yeah.
know. That should be clear.
Right.
My kids will tell you they felt like I was gone quite a bit. I was there
Yeah.
for everything that was important, but I worked
Hmm.
really hard. But you know, I think this is like the current liberal and the former Republican coming out of me. I both believe in that sort of, it's the wrong metaphor, but that bootstraps analogy. I do think one needs to learn to be self-reliant and pull yourself up. But I also think you need a hand from people when they can help you out, and you
Hmm.
need a lucky break as well.
Yeah.
And like many things in our society, people tend to see one side of something and think that's the whole picture without realizing that oftentimes we're describing the same thing. We're just describing it from different vantage points. And a smart person does themselves well by taking the wisdom out of any viewpoint and applying it for themselves and throwing away the bullshit.
Yes.
And unfortunately, right now in our society, it seems like there's more bullshit to throw away than wisdom. But I should have clarified. Is it okay that I don't know if it's okay that I'm cussing or not?
Of
So
course. Yes. Be you.
okay,
Be
but I probably should
authentic.
have asked that. You may have to bleep
No,
all
you
this
are
out.
fine. Yes, it is welcome.
So
I want people to
anyway,
be their authentic selves. So yes, please be you. And I think it makes such a, well,
yep.
it does. I don't just think, I know it makes such a difference when you have that support team within, the management, within the staff that you can trust. They're going to show up. They're going to do a great job. If one person drops the ball, they're like, oh, I'll just take care of that for you. And I think that's a very valuable lesson as you are in business, and to be successful in business is to have that support. And along with that, I think you also need to put that support into your personal life. And clearly, you picked an amazing support person as your wife. So you met in college. Let's talk about this incredible woman who has been supportive in your life.
Heck yeah. Yeah, so we're kind of the opposites attract a little bit. Like we have some similar interest in in music, but we're just very different people.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my gosh. So I could talk to you forever about her. Let me tell you one of my favorite stories.
Yes, please.
Um, so we met in college, and like I said, like literally within the first 90 seconds of us knowing each other, I have rubbed her the wrong way to the point where she's flipped her hair and turned her head at me and like has written me off entirely, right? And that's not an exaggeration. Like literally turned her off that fast. And a friend of mine's like, hey, this was a couple weeks later. He's like, do you want to go to the Tulsa Philharmonic concert tonight? And I was like, mm. He's like, Belinda's going to be there. I'm like, I'm in. Yep, I'll be there. And so I go to this concert, and it's my friend and Belinda and some other dude, and it's college. Like, there's always people hanging around you don't know. And
Mm-hmm.
so I sit next to Belinda, and so it's my friend, me, Belinda, and this other guy. And I'm just kind of talking to her the whole time through the concert and stuff. And then after it, my friend who invited us, he was like, "Hey, you guys want to go to dinner?" And I'm thinking, like, man, my buddy is like a great wingman. Like, he is just setting this up for me. I'm like, yeah, I don't have two nickels to rub together, but let's go to dinner because like this cute girl.
Right.
And so we go to dinner, and we sit at a booth, and so my buddy slides in, I sit next to him. Other guy slides in across from my buddy, and then Belinda sits across from me, and I'm thinking, oh, this is perfect. Like, she and I, we just can look at each other in the eye, and we can talk. Like, this is great. Like, I'm going to try to charm her, and so we're just kind of chatting for a minute, and they hand out the menus, and everyone's kind of looking at the menu, and then she leans over to the guy next to her, and she goes, "So, do you want to share something or what?" And I was like,
Oh no.
holy shit, they're on a date. And so I'm like, oh my God. Like, okay. So as it goes on, I kind of ask, like, are you guys like on a date? And they're like, well, I mean, like, we're dating. I'm like, oh,
Oh
okay, gotcha.
no.
So the next day I go see her, and I'm like, hey, I didn't realize you had a boyfriend. And she goes, yeah. And I was like, how long have you guys been together? She goes, 2 years. I'm like, 2 years? Like, she goes, yeah. She's like, he was the valedictorian of my high school, and his family loves me. I love his family. I'm like, so you guys like planning to get married or something? And she goes, no, no, I'm not marrying him. And I was like,
Oh.
oh, okay. So you're saying there's a chance? Like, I'm back in it. Here I thought I was down for the count.
Right?
And so I literally pursued her for, I mean, this would probably be illegal today and definitely like distasteful. But I pursued her for 6 months, like an antelope in the savannas of Africa. Just chase this woman down until she finally like breaks up with this boyfriend, which is, by the way, the reason why her parents didn't like me. And so she breaks up with her boyfriend, and she does it like right at the beginning of summer break. And we were talking on the phone. She's like, "Well, just so you know, I finally broke up with Sean." I was like, "Oh, really?" She goes, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." I'm like, "Awesome!" Like, well, hey, come over, let's go swimming. Like, I live in an apartment. I was like, listen, it's hot. It's a hot summer day. Like, come over, let's go swimming. Yes, I wanted to see her in a swimsuit, but like, come on, let's do this. And she goes, no, I don't think so. I'm like, why not? And she's like, I don't think so. And I was like, all right, do you have something you have to do today? She's like, no, I don't think I should. I'm like, oh, okay. And she's like, yeah. I was like, she's like, can we be friends? And I was like, no, no, we can't be friends. Like, we
Yeah.
won't be enemies, but like,
Right.
I like you more than a friend. Like,
Yeah.
so I guess goodbye, and I'll see you in the fall when we come back to school. And she's like, are you mad? I'm like, no, I'm not mad. I was never that guy. I'm not gonna be
Right.
mad because you don't want
Right.
to go out with me. I don't blame you. I don't want to go out with me either. Like, like, I understand. You're like, but no, we're not gonna be friends.
Right.
Like, I like you
Yeah.
for more than that. And she's like,
Right.
she's like, well, I'll come over. And I'm like, no, no, don't come over. Like, I don't need the pity. Come
Yeah.
over. Like, just don't. She's like, no, I want to come over. And I'm like, not really. Just forget it. Like, it's fine. So now I'm playing hard to get, right? And so she came over, and the rest is history.
That's
But I
amazing.
think that story is so lovely to me. But
Yeah.
it kind of walks the line of like, I was a little like, God, I just couldn't, I wouldn't quit. And I was
Mm-hmm.
persistent. And if you take that too far, it can be creepy, you
Right.
know? Um, but I was always respectful of her.
Of
I was
course.
always like, if she ever would have told me, hey, back off, like, this is what I'm doing or whatever,
Yeah.
like, I would have honored that and respected that. Uh, but she always just kept like giving me these things, like these things that she's unhappy about. And now, if you ask her like what her reservations were, she had never met anybody like me before. She had never met someone that is like that's kind of just got like my personality and like my thought of like you can do anything. Like
Mhm.
she'd never been around anything like that before, and
Yeah.
she was excited by it, but it also made her very nervous.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I think our relationship together, that's pretty accurate. I'm the one that pushes the boundaries. I'm the one that pushes her to think about things she hasn't ever thought of. I'm the one that
Mhm.
pushes us to do things she never thought she would do. Um, for me, she's the one who keeps me grounded. She's the one that keeps me connected to family and friends. She's the one that, like, when something bad happens to me, she's the first person I want to call. And when something good happens, she's the first person I want to celebrate with. And
Oh.
we really enjoy each other's company. And like
Yeah.
I love missing her. Like if we have to travel or away from me part, like I love to miss her. But like, I mean, we're so pathetic that even after being together for 30 years, like every night, oh, this might be too personal for podcast, but every night it's like we got to have that Bobo time, like we want like
Yeah.
butt to butt, laying in bed, just like,
Yeah.
cuddled up next to each other. And I'm
Mhm.
so grateful for that because my goal is I just never wanted to be divorced.
Right.
Growing up in a divorced home, I didn't want to have that.
Mhm.
And not to cast aspersions to anyone who's been divorced because I know how hard it is. And I also don't want to give you the false idea that this 30 years of togetherness has been nothing but bliss because there was, I think, like many couples, like, especially after that 5 or 7 years of marriage, like it starts to get pretty, unsavory
Yeah.
because familiarity breeds contempt. And over time, you can't help but focus on the things about someone that you don't like. Those
Mhm.
qualities tend to stand out to you, and you can lose focus on the things about them you loved. And, we were on the verge of divorce, and she was pregnant with our youngest. This is so screwed up. So she was pregnant with her youngest. When she called me to tell me that she was pregnant, my response wasn't like, oh, this is so wonderful. My response literally was, you know what? Lots of people have a newborn baby and get divorced. Like that was what I said.
Wow.
And what a terrible spot to be in where
Yeah.
when you hear that news that that's your answer to it. But that's where we were. And we'd gone to 3 different marriage counselors, and that third one was the right counselor, and we were in the right frame of mind to make it work. And
Mhm.
one of the things that counselor did that was so useful was to ask us, what was it about each other that you fell in love with, and do you still have those qualities? And that made us realize, like, oh yeah, we still have those qualities, we just don't think about those qualities anymore.
Right. Yeah.
I stopped focusing on how loyal she was. I stopped focusing on how caring she was. I
Mhm.
stopped focusing on what a good supporter she was. I stopped focusing on how she could be surprisingly funny. I stopped focusing on how encouraging she can be. I stopped focusing on what a great musician she is, and instead focused on the things about her that I didn't like. And she did the same to me. She stopped focusing on how supportive I was. She stopped focusing on that I was funny, that I was a good provider, and all those things. She was focusing on the things that I wasn't. And you do that with anybody. Everyone has their faults. Every
Right.
company has their faults.
Yeah.
If you, as an employee, focus on your employer's faults only, you will eventually learn to hate them. And
Mhm.
so, us starting to refocus again on the things we love about each other really helped to pull that marriage together. The other thing that helps too is also recognizing that these Hollywood notions of like your partner has to be your everything is total horseshit. It's
Yeah.
much better if my wife is my wife and not my best friend and everything else to me. Like
Mhm.
it's too much responsibility for to have one human being be everything for you. Like that's silly. You
Yeah.
know, you're gonna be fortunate if they can just be a good partner for you. Like,
Mhm.
they can't be everything. So you need friends outside of that. You need fulfillment outside of that relationship. That one relationship can't bring everything to you.
Right.
It takes the pressure and burden off of it if it does. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's my marriage advice.
That's good advice. Yes. Yeah, and recognizing like you're not going to be able to bring 110% into the relationship every single day. Like sometimes all your best is 30% and that's where you're at, and they may only be at 20%, and you just kind of respect each other, and the next day you try again. And I love that perspective of reevaluating like what is it that I love about this person, because yeah, we all have things like, I my dog is amazing, but I still annoy her. I tell her no, I'm delightful, but like even that relationship isn't perfect. So we have to keep that
Yeah.
into perspective.
Yeah, my dog Sarge is the best dog in the world, and I take him to work with me every day, and he's the goodest boy. But every once in a while, his only bad trait, his only toxic trait, is for some reason, yep, I'm talking about you, buddy. Um, if he's had a when he's had a milk bone in the morning, sometimes when we get to work, he'll go shit on the floor, and it's really annoying, and I really hate it.
Right.
Uh, but damn it, if he's not an amazing dog beyond that.
Yeah.
And if all I do is focus on the fact that he will once a week take a shit on the floor at work, of all places, never at home, only at work, don't know why that is, then like I might get real frustrated. But when I
Yeah.
sit there and think about how loyal and loving and funny he is, and
Hmm.
like how other people just like he just, he's the dog that I don't have to have him on a leash when I walk to the car. He just, falls in step with me. Like he's just perfect.
Yeah.
Um, you got to focus on that. It's easy to do that with a dog because dogs are just amazing
Right.
creatures that we don't deserve, but we have them.
Right.
Harder to do with people, but
Hmm.
I think it's an important thing to focus on. Focus now, not maybe not to the exclusion of maybe truly toxic traits that might destroy a relationship, but I think
Right.
most relationships, most employment relationships don't have those things. They have
Hmm.
things that you can work to make better too, but you gotta stay focused on the thing what drew you there in the first place.
Right. Yeah. Because having that partner, like you said, like if it's toxic and it's unhealthy, then yes, divorce, don't stay in something that is not absolutely working and is awful, whether it's cheating or the
Yep.
deceit or whatever may be happening. But I think to be successful in life, it's important to choose that partner, and it's not easy to find that
Yep.
partner, but it's just it's so commendable. Like I love seeing in your posts like the appreciation and respect that you two have for each other, and that comes from putting in the work into a marriage isn't just like, oh, I show up, here's dinner. It's putting in the work and recognizing those years that go by when, oh shit, yeah,
Yeah.
you're more than just a dinner plate at the end of the day.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right. I think, gosh, when your relationship deteriorates to that point where just you are your responsibilities.
Hmm.
Oof, I've been there. We've been there. Belinda and I have definitely been there. Like I said, when we were on that verge of divorce, we would meet people that had been where we were at, and none of them had survived. Their marriage survived, and so we kind of thought like, there's we're probably not going to make it, you know. Uh, but if we do make it, then let's promise that we will share our story and help other people that have been in
Yeah.
the same boat to at least give them hope,
Hmm.
because we had no hope, which was really hard. And
Right.
but and I think that we were pretty well suited for one another. I don't think we're like a perfect match.
Hmm.
I'd say like our natural match for one another, we're probably about a C, if you were to give it a letter grade, um, maybe a B or a C, or B minus, right around there. But we've learned to be able to appreciate the other things about one another that make the relationship work. And
Yeah.
um, and what that has also meant is a certain amount of just tolerance. Like
Hmm.
it's like she's just not gonna be me. She's not gonna be someone who's super interested in politics and religion and philosophy, and like that's just not gonna she's just not academic in that way. She's not gonna find that super interesting. And I'm also not gonna be the person that is gonna be a super great listener when it comes to just hearing about your day and stuff like that. Like that's just not who I am. So
Hmm.
let's not rely on each other for those things. Like
Right.
we need friends and relationships outside of this to make that to fulfill us, but let's recognize what we do bring to each other and appreciate that and celebrate that.
Mhm.
And I think that's been the key.
Yeah.
And we do respect one another, and I think that helps as well. And honestly, I kind of hate to say this because, like, I think in today's world, it might sound a little like, I don't know, it sounds a little wonky to me, but there's some degree of truth to it. But I went to dinner with a friend several years ago, and it was me and my wife and this friend, and my wife went up to use the restroom, and my friend looks at me, he goes, "Man, every man should have a woman he doesn't deserve, but Jesus, Donovan." And like, it sounds a little like, I don't know, like, I don't know. Sound in today's world, I think it sounds a little off to say that. But I do look at my wife and just see like, man, she's a very attractive woman, and like I knew when we were dating, I knew like she would age well. We're both we're roughly the same age,
Mhm.
and she's 3 months younger. She'll make sure she points that out. Um, but like she's just so freaking cute, man. Like
Yeah.
she's just adorable, and like she just aged well, like I knew she would. And like, I've always basically looked like this. And so she's definitely out of my league when it comes to looks. And that was an important thing to me. And I think
Mhm.
that third counselor kind of pointed out to me, because of my insecurities growing up, uh, having an attractive partner and a partner that other people found attractive was just an important part of my self-worth and self-identity, which is a little messed up, that's how I felt. I had so little regard for myself that I felt like that was an important thing, but that's how my brain was formed.
Mhm.
And so, being partnered with her makes it fun. And then, she's also just a fun person. Like, she's funny in a way that's not consistent, which is somehow even better, because she'll make me laugh, because she'll say something I just am not expecting.
Mhm.
Um, Whereas I make her laugh, but she's expecting me to be unexpected. So like that's coming, and like she knows I'm gonna have some funny take on whatever. Uh, but she doesn't consistently. But about once a week, it'll be something that'll just like make me literally lol. And then she's just like, yeah, she's just a lot of fun. We
Yeah.
enjoy each other's company. Like we golf together, we play music together. Uh, One of our favorite things to do is sit out. We've got a little private courtyard at our house, and we'll sit out at night and drink bourbon and count the satellites as they pass over the sky. And I just like, sometimes if I'm out there having a cigar or reading or whatever, she'll just come out with a bottle of bourbon and two glasses, and like
Oh.
it just warms my heart when she does that. Like that, she
Yeah.
just wants to spend that time with me.
Mhm.
And anyway, this isn't a relationship podcast, but I could talk about that for hours too. So
But I think
I'm grateful to have her for sure.
yeah, and I think it's important to not take that other person for granted, which can be easy, especially over the years. You take this for granted and that for granted, and clearly, when you respect each other enough, you recognize, we have to make sure we let that other person know they're still important to us. They make us feel special because that's what they want as well.
Yep, yep,
And as you were
yep.
talking, it
She definitely
reminded
is.
me of it was a episode of Last Man Standing, and Vanessa's in the kitchen like venting to one of her daughters, and the daughter's like, I can't listen to this anymore. And her husband Mike comes into the kitchen, and the daughter's like, Dad, you got to talk to Mom. He's like, Nope, I can't. It's our agreement, because she wants me to listen, I want to fix it, she doesn't want me to fix it, so that would always end up with us fighting. So the agreement is, if she needs someone to vent to, or she doesn't want a solution or someone to fix it, she needs to find someone else because I want to fix it. And I thought, what
Yep,
great
yep,
enlightenment, like they
yep,
recognize, like, nope, you gotta vent to somebody else because I'm gonna fix your problem and you don't want me to.
yep. That's definitely our relationship to a T. I remember our first like really deep conversation. I was trying to be very motivational and inspirational for her. Long phone conversation. And at the end of it, when I just think I just gave this roaring speech, she'll be ready to run through walls and stuff. She's in tears on the other end of the phone, feeling like such an abject failure. And that's pretty much the summarization of any time I try to inspire my wife. Like she just, and I was just talking about this with some friends last weekend, because she's trying to get her master's,
Mhm.
which she's got 24 years of teaching experience. And to go back to college and try to get her master's degree is kind of challenging when you're in your late
Yeah.
40s, and she's dismayed by it. And so I was talking to my friends about, like, what do I do? And they were like, trying to encourage me to, like, be encouraging to her and, like, have these conversations with her. And I'm like, yeah, that just won't work. Like, maybe one of you guys will talk to her, because like when I try to talk to her, I just make her mad or feel like a failure or a disappointment. Like, so I just can't try to encourage her. Like, I
Yeah.
can't do that. I can cheer her on when she's doing well. I can give her advice if she asks for it. But if
Hmm.
she just, with that other piece, when she needs that pick me up, when she needs that person that says, "Oh, that's not true. You can totally," I can't do that for her. I can
Yeah.
do that for literally anybody else. Like, I do this all the time for people I work with, like,
Right.
but not her. Oh gosh.
That's awesome.
It's
I
part of
love
what
that.
keeps the mystery alive.
Right.
So
Absolutely. I love that she's in your life and such a blessing to you as well. Like that's wonderful. I love that for you.
me too. Yeah, me too.
I
Fortunate.
saw I saw a post and I would like to hear that you had in your social media and I would like to hear your opinion on what it said. And it states, learning music is like learning a foreign language. Band is an instant community. You know where your kids are every day, and you are so proud of them when you see them in their uniform. In band, they learn the importance of being on time. They learn to follow instructions, learn leadership, learn to be dependable and responsible. And they learn how to work together to push themselves. These are the things you want them to learn, and music will teach them more than just music.
That's exactly right. Yeah, we're using music to teach all these other life and leadership skills. We're learning how to work as part of a team. We're learning when it's our time to step up and shine and take center stage, but we're also learning when it's our time to pull back and to be part of the harmony. Where we learn that, like, anything that's worth doing is going to take time and effort and energy to do, and that if we want to be good at something, that we're going to have to invest hundreds of hours collectively and also individually to reach that goal. We learned that we need to learn how to get along with others and work with
Hmm.
others. We learned how we must learn to listen to others. We can't make great music just doing our own thing. We make great music, just like I was telling you about my gig last night. We make great music by listening to those around us and playing not the music on our page, but playing with the musicians that sit around us. We learn about perseverance. We learn about emotions. We learn about history. We learn about challenges that people have faced that they've written music for. We learn about victory. We learn about humor. I mean, we learn all these things. We learn mathematic things through note division. We learn mathematics through harmony. Um, yeah, I mean, we learn all of these things, of which the leadership and teamwork is probably the most important, but definitely not the only thing. Oh, and by the way, after all of that stuff, you also learn how to play an instrument and do something recreationally fun.
Yeah.
So you get all that as well. Yeah, I think it's something we made our kids do band. Our youngest didn't really want to do band in the beginning, and I remember him saying, fifth grade, he was like, I don't think I'm going to do band when I can in sixth grade. We're like, okay, well, tell me about this new family you're going to be living with. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, because you're not going to be living here. So what family are you going to be living with where you don't do band? And he goes, very funny, Dad. And I'm like, dead serious. Like, do you have this family? He's like, no. And I'm like, your ass is doing band, and so he's done it now. He loves it now. He's ate up with it. He's playing the
Yeah.
tuba. He's doing a great job. He's made the youth symphony. He's made the honor band. Um, he's a section leader as a sophomore in high school. He's wants to do drum corps. Like, I mean, he's ate up with band now.
Hmm.
Um, but he didn't want to in the beginning, and but we made him do it because we just knew, like, son, this is going to be a great activity for you to be a part of. And he was so fortunate. His middle school band experience, which in Missouri, that's his beginning band experience, he was in his mom's band. Um, so we
Whoa.
pulled him. He was supposed to go to a different middle school in the same district. He was kind of screwing up in elementary school. So we're like, you know what? I'm going to pull you out of that. You're going to go to mom's middle school, and you're going to have your mom as your band director. and what a magical experience that was for them. They both like really valued and treasured that experience. It was a great experience for both of them to
Nice.
get that. And kind of I'm envious that my wife got that experience of like that, getting to be his band director.
Yeah.
But he loves it and is doing great with it. Uh, so our because we love our kids, we make them do band,
Mhm.
and we make them not. We wouldn't let them quit if they wanted to quit. Just for the same reason that we make them brush their teeth and wash behind
Mhm.
their ears and bathe every day and
Yep.
eat reasonable diet. It's because we love them that we make them do it.
Yeah.
It's because we love them that we made them study, that we make them take school seriously.
Yep.
It's why we make them do band too, because we
Mhm.
knew that that would provide so much value to their life.
Yes. And with you saying that, when I worked at a music store, I heard over and over and over again from adults who came in to either pick up playing an instrument as an adult or as their child was playing an instrument. And that adult would say how they wish their parents never let them quit playing, and they regretted it. And they regretted not sticking to playing an instrument. But their parents were like, well, you're not practicing, so I guess we're just not going to do this. And I had a tip that I shared with parents. I'll share it here. My mom, when I didn't want to play the piano, my mom's like, well, if you don't want to play the piano, then you're doing dishes. And I'm like, oh, no, nope, not doing dishes. I guess I'm playing the piano. And that's how she would get me to practice. Like, she would be like, well, you don't have to practice. That's fine. But this is a chore that you already don't like to do. So you can go do this chore. Or I'll do this chore for you, but then you have to go practice. And that got me through many,
I
many
love that.
years.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was great and extremely effective. And so I would share that with parents, and they come back in and be like, they don't like doing the dishes. So I did that thing, and they're playing. They're playing all the time. Like, they're playing in the morning
I
after
love it.
breakfast. Yeah. And so, like, that's a thing I think was common, where kids they struggle with practicing because it's hard. Maybe they don't have a music stand and stuff set up where they can just go grab the instrument and play. What kind of practicing tips do you give for those who are kind of struggling with that?
Okay, yeah, good. This is one I can definitely answer. So I think the number one thing, especially as a young musician, and I'd say young meaning like, you're in the first few years at least of learning your instrument, or you're in the first few years of that skill level. Even if you've been playing for 30 years, but you play like someone who's only been playing for 18 months or 2 years, I think the most important thing is just to play. It's not so much about the study and it's about the
Mm-hmm.
scales and things like that. It's just time on the instrument. So play, if you're a parent, like buying fun music for your kids. So, my mom didn't, know to buy me the technique books and stuff like that. And if she did, I wouldn't have found them fun. But she bought me the top pop hits of 1987. And like I'm learning to play Axel F on the trumpet, and she also bought Wind Beneath My Wings, not because I wanted to play it, but she wanted me to play it for her. And but she bought me pop music because like that was the music we were listening to,
Mm-hmm.
and it was one of the first things that kind of made me playing the trumpet kind of cool, because I would be at home and I would learn like the chorus to some pop tune like Living on a Prayer, and then in band the next day when we were warming up, I'd bust out that chorus, some Bon Jovi chorus or whatever. And then my friends would be like, "Oh, that's cool. How'd you learn that?" And and it's people that would, not even just my friend, I really have many many friends, but my classmates would say that, and I would feel like my classmates would like kind of like look up that I could do something, and so I
Mm-hmm.
was just always trying to be noticed or whatever. And so I think that could be a great thing to do for younger, just hey, get them some fun music and just get
Yeah.
them to play. Who cares? They don't have to do scales and stuff in the beginning. Like, just have them play music. Have them play fun, enjoyable pop music. Get them the Taylor Swift songbook. Get them the Pink songbook. Get them whoever songbook that they're listening to, and just get a Disney themes, whatever it is. Just get stuff that melodies they recognize that they find enjoyable, and get them to play. Then beyond that, like I think if they show some interest there, I think getting into private lessons can be a really great thing. But you got to find the right teacher, and you got to find a teacher that makes music fun and
Mm-hmm.
excitable for them. Most kids, when they take private lessons, they're not doing it because they want to be a professional musician. So getting a teacher who's trying to make them a professional musician probably won't work.
Right.
But getting a teacher that can inspire them and encourage them, and a teacher that can see greatness in your kid and can make your kid feel special, that you're going to do great with. And there's not very many of those teachers out there, so you're going to have to dig, and you're going to have to
Mm-hmm.
really look to find it. but when you find it, like they're going to get your kid on fire for it. And or you as an adult, because it's never too late to learn to play.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to find a teacher like that. I think is really important. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think playing the music you love, I think, is the most important part of it. And then beyond that, if you're an adult or you've got several years of experience, I think maybe developing a good practice routine and sticking with it, but making sure it's something that's fun. Oh, here's the other big takeaway. Oh gosh, I almost screwed up and didn't say this because I think this is the most important thing. Perform. You have got to be in a
Yeah.
group where you're performing. I know that you were saying earlier about like just playing for your own enjoyment, playing out of the home, and there's certainly some people that like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in general, that kind of blows because music was made to be shared.
Yeah.
It really wasn't made to just be only consumed by the creator, by one person making it. It was meant to be shared. So finding a community group you can be in, finding a garage band, finding something where you get to make music with other people, that's the real hook. Once you get to that level where you're able to do that, you're in it for life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Get yourself in there as fast as you can.
Right. Yeah, and even if you create your own gigs, like there's always places where you can gig, whether it's church, maybe it's old folks' home, maybe it's a park. Like there's lots of little options, or a library. Libraries will have different programs. Like you don't have to be
Yep.
the best players out there. Like I play ukulele. And I had put up a thing at the store where I worked at the time, like, hey, I want to put together this ukulele orchestra. We grew from 3 people to 12. Like, we outgrew our space. And the owner's like, I don't know what to do with you ukulele people. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with this either, because we came out of the woodwork. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it became
Yep.
this
Totally
super big
agree.
thing. Yeah, and then we just started doing like little performances, and I'm like, what is happening here? Like I'm putting together ukulele music, and I just wanted to get together and have fun. But we became like, we just started to have so much more fun with it. It just grew. And so yeah, you're right. Getting that opportunity to perform, yeah, because then you're working towards a goal, and it makes it a little bit more fun.
Yep. Without a doubt.
Thank you so much for joining me in season 2. That is it for episode number 51 with Donovan Bankhead. Join us for the rest of the conversation on the next episode of Journey to the Rise. And I leave you with one final reminder. Please be kind to yourself, because when you're kind to yourself, it's easier to be kind to others.